Klonoa and the Echoes of the Forgotten Sky. It was a bright morning in the dreaming island. The air was sweet with the scent of tropical flowers, and the waves gently lapped against the sandy shores. Klonoa, the courageous and ever-curious dream traveller, stood on the beach, his bright yellow eyes reflecting the vastness of the ocean before him. With his floppy ears swaying in the breeze and his signature blue and white outfit billowing slightly, he looked every bit the adventurer he was, always ready to face whatever challenges awaited him. His trusty companion, Huepow, floated by his side, his round, glowing form flashing with excitement. "Hey, Klonoa, you ever wonder what lies beyond that big cloud over there?" Huepow asked, pointing to the distant sky where a strange swirling mass of clouds had appeared recently. The mass seemed to pulse, as though it had a rhythm of its own, and it was unlike anything Klonoa had ever seen in all his journeys. Klonoa squinted at the clouds and nodded thoughtfully. "Yeah, I've seen it for a while now. It looks like something's wrong. It's not just a regular storm. I think we should check it out." Huepow floated closer, his voice quieter now. "But are you sure? It looks strange. I have a bad feeling about it." Klonoa placed a reassuring hand on his friend's round form. "Don't worry, Huepow. We've faced worse than a weird cloud. Besides, there might be something in there, something we need to stop." Together they set off, travelling across the island to a hidden path that would lead them to the mountains, the closest point to the swirling storm. Along the way they passed through lush forests and crossed bubbling streams, the tranquility of the island contrasting with the unease growing in Klonoa's heart. As they neared the mountains, the air became cooler, the wind carrying an odd hum, like a distant song lost to time. Klonoa could feel his instincts urging him forward. They arrived at the base of a cliff, where an ancient temple stood, its stone walls covered in moss and vines. The entrance was sealed, but the cloud loomed above, casting an eerie shadow over the temple. "This place looks familiar," Klonoa murmured, stepping closer to the entrance. "I think I've seen it before, but not like this. It feels forgotten." Huepow bobbed up and down anxiously. "Are you sure we should go in there? It's so dark." Klonoa took a deep breath and nodded. "If there's something wrong with the clouds, then this is where it starts. We have to find out what's causing it." As he approached the entrance, a strange force pushed him back, not a physical barrier, but something far more mystical. A low, resonating hum filled the air, and a figure emerged from the shadows, stepping into the moonlight. It was a figure unlike any Klonoa had ever seen, draped in a cloak of shimmering fabric that glowed faintly in the night. A tall, slender being, with long flowing hair and eyes that seemed to shimmer with an unearthly glow. "You should not be here," the figure said in a voice that sounded like the wind itself, both soft and powerful. Klonoa took a step forward, his ears flicking with curiosity. "Who are you? What's happening to the sky? What's causing this storm?" The figure tilted its head, a faint smile tugging at its lips. "You are Klonoa, the dream traveller, yes? I have heard of you. It's not the sky that is wrong, but the world. And you, too, are part of this distortion." Klonoa's heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean? How am I a part of it?" The figure raised a hand, and the storm clouds above seemed to shift, swirling faster as if reacting to its presence. "The dreaming island is but a fragment of a larger world, a world that has been broken for aeons. The sky, the clouds, the storm, they are but a reflection of the imbalance that has long existed. An ancient force lost to time is awakening. It is not the storm that is dangerous, but the source behind it." Klonoa's thoughts raced. "An ancient force? What do you want with me?" The figure's smile grew, though there was a sadness in its eyes. "You are the key, Klonoa. You were always meant to be. The storm you see is merely the beginning of a greater upheaval. The dreaming island, your home, is part of something much larger, and you must understand that to protect it, you must face the truth of what you are." Klonoa stepped back, unease settling in his stomach. "What are you talking about? I don't understand." The figure's gaze softened. You will in time. But for now, the storm is only the first wave. There is something far more dangerous at play. The forgotten sky is awakening, and if you don't act soon, it will bring ruin to all worlds. Klonoa's resolve hardened. I don't know what's going on, but if this storm threatens the Dreaming Island, then I'll do whatever it takes to stop it. Huepow, still floating nearby, seemed more than a little worried. Klonoa, are you sure about this? That figure doesn't exactly seem friendly. I have to try, Huepow, Klonoa replied, his voice steady. I won't let anything happen to this place. This is our home, and I won't run from whatever comes next. The figure stepped back, its form beginning to dissolve into the air like mist. Very well, Klonoa. You will face the truth soon enough, but remember, not all truths are meant to be uncovered. And just like that, the figure was gone, leaving only the swirling storm above and the ancient temple before them. Klonoa looked at Huepow, who floated close by, still unsure. This doesn't feel right, Huepow said, but I guess we have to keep going. If what they say is true, then we need to find out what this forgotten sky really is. Klonoa nodded, determination flickering in his eyes. We will, Huepow. Together. The entrance to the temple was still sealed, the mystical force preventing Klonoa from simply walking in. He stepped closer, placing a hand against the stone, and immediately felt a sharp pulse of energy through his fingertips. It was the same energy he had felt earlier, ancient, powerful, and deeply connected to the storm. That figure. They mentioned the temple, Klonoa muttered to himself, trying to make sense of what he had just learned. Maybe this place is the key to stopping all this. Huepow floated nervously beside him. Klonoa, you're not really thinking of breaking in, are you? Klonoa smiled, his ears twitching playfully. What do you think, Huepow? When have I ever been the type to back down from a mystery? A rumble echoed from deep within the temple as if answering Klonoa's words. The stone doors slowly began to creak open, revealing the darkened hallway beyond. The inside of the temple was grand, but dilapidated, as though it had once been a place of great importance, now lost to time. The walls were covered in ancient symbols that glowed faintly in the dim light, and the air was thick with the scent of dust and forgotten history. As Klonoa stepped deeper into the temple, he could feel the strange pull of something guiding him, a force beyond his understanding. The storm outside continued to swirl, its pulse matching the rhythm of the temple's heartbeat. This place feels alive, Klonoa said softly, his voice almost reverent. Huepow, floating closely, replied, Yeah, alive and a little unsettling. They ventured deeper into the temple, moving through winding corridors and massive chambers filled with ancient artifacts. Finally, they arrived at the central hall, where a large glowing crystal rested on an altar, its light casting eerie shadows across the room. The crystal seemed to hum with energy, resonating with the storm above. It was then that Klonoa realized this wasn't just any crystal. This was the heart of the forgotten sky, the source of the storm, and it was waiting for him to make his move. As Klonoa approached the crystal, the storm above seemed to intensify, the ground beneath him trembled, and the sky outside flashed with streaks of lightning. He reached out, his hand trembling as he touched the crystal's surface. For a moment, the world around him seemed to freeze. A voice echoed in his mind, a voice that wasn't his own. You are the one. Klonoa's fingers pressed lightly against the glowing crystal, the hum of its energy vibrating through his entire being. The voice that had echoed in his mind was now louder, clearer. It seemed to be speaking directly to him, and yet it wasn't a voice at all. It was more like a presence, a force. You are the one, the voice repeated, each word resonating with weight, as though it had been waiting for centuries to speak. The one who will awaken the sky. Klonoa's heart raced, and he pulled his hand back as if he'd been burned. What do you mean? Who are you? He demanded. His voice echoed through the chamber, bouncing off the stone walls, but no answer came, except for a flicker of light in the crystal. The crystal pulsed, growing brighter with every second, and Klonoa could feel the storm outside intensifying, swirling violently. The wind howled through the temple as if the entire island were on the edge of some great unknown precipice. Suddenly, the light from the crystal shot upward, a column of pure light, and the entire room seemed to shake. Klonoa staggered back, shielding his eyes, but his gaze never left the crystal. He had to understand what was happening. He had to understand what this force was, and why it had chosen him. As the light slowly began to fade, a figure emerged from the crystal's core, materializing like a dream brought to life. It was the same cloaked figure from before, the one who had warned him about the storm. The figure's face was still obscured by a hood, but its presence was even more imposing now, as if it existed beyond the constraints of time itself. "You came," the figure said, its voice calm but carrying an undeniable weight. "You are the key, Klonoa, the key to both the salvation and destruction of your world." Klonoa stood tall, trying to steady his breath. "Who are you? And why is this storm here? Why did you say I was the key?" The figure stepped forward, the ground beneath it trembling with each movement. "I am the guardian of the old world, a keeper of memories long forgotten. The storm you see, the one that is ravaging the skies, is not a storm at all. It is the awakening of an ancient force, a force that has been trapped in the sky for millennia. It is called the Forgotten Sky, and it is connected to the very fabric of your existence." Klonoa felt a chill run down his spine. The Forgotten Sky? The figure nodded. "Yes. Long ago, the Forgotten Sky was sealed away by the great powers that once ruled this world. It is a force of unimaginable power, a force that can reshape reality itself, but the seal is weakening, and the storm you see now is the result of its attempts to break free. The clouds that have appeared, they are not of nature, but of something far older, something that should never have been awakened." Klonoa's mind was racing, trying to piece together everything the figure was saying. "But why me? Why do you say I'm the key? I don't even understand what's happening." The figure's gaze softened, its eyes flickering with a sadness that Klonoa could almost feel in his chest. "You, Klonoa, are not from this world. You have been brought here from another place, another dimension. You are one of the Dream Travelers, an ancient being whose fate is tied to both the Dreaming Island and the Forgotten Sky. You were chosen to be the one to either seal away the sky once more, or allow it to break free, unleashing a force that could undo all of existence." Klonoa's heart pounded in his chest. "So this storm is connected to me?" The figure nodded. "Yes. The Forgotten Sky has been waiting for you, and it knows your presence here. It is trying to use you to break its chains, but you must resist its call. You must not let it claim you." Huepow floated near Klonoa, his voice trembling. "Klonoa, what do we do? How can we stop this?" Klonoa clenched his fists. His mind was swirling with questions, but one thing was clear. He had to stop whatever was happening. He couldn't let the Forgotten Sky wreak havoc on the world he loved. "I don't know yet," Klonoa said. His voice was steady despite the uncertainty, "but I won't let this storm take over. If I'm the one who can stop it, then I'll find a way. I won't let everything be destroyed." The figure lowered its head, as if in acknowledgement. "You are brave, Klonoa, but bravery alone will not be enough. You'll need the help of those who stand with you, and you will need to uncover the truth of the Forgotten Sky, the truth that has been hidden for so long." The crystal pulsed once more, and suddenly the entire temple seemed to shake violently, as if something deep within was waking up. The wind howled louder than before, and Klonoa felt a surge of energy emanating from the crystal, forcing him to take a step back. "The storm is here," the figure said, its voice now filled with urgency. "You must hurry, Klonoa. The Forgotten Sky is calling to you. Only by facing its source, by confronting the truth behind the storm, can you hope to stop it." With that, the figure vanished, leaving Klonoa and Huepow standing alone in the now silent chamber. The storm outside continued to rage, but it seemed to be focused on something in the distance, something that Klonoa had to reach. What was that?" Huepow asked, his voice small and uncertain. "This is bigger than anything we faced before, Klonoa. Are you sure you're ready for this?" Klonoa took a deep breath, his ears twitching in determination. "We don't have a choice, Huepow. The Forgotten Sky is waiting for me. We have to stop it. before it's too late. Together they turned toward the temple's exit. The storm now visible through the cracks in the walls, the swirling clouds above seemed to pull at Klonoa, calling him forward, urging him toward the heart of the storm. Klonoa's heart raced as he stepped out into the chaos. The wind howled around him, and the sky above seemed to twist and churn, as if it were alive. But Klonoa wasn't afraid. He had faced storms before, and he had faced far greater challenges. This time he wasn't alone. He had Huepow, and together they would face whatever the forgotten sky had in store for them. The two friends stood at the edge of the storm, staring into the heart of the swirling clouds. They didn't know exactly what lay ahead, but one thing was certain. They were about to uncover the deepest secrets of the Dreaming Island and the forgotten past that had shaped it. The storm raged around them as Klonoa and Huepow stood at the edge of the temple, looking out over the island. The air was thick with oppressive energy, and the sky above was dark, swirling in unnatural patterns, like an angry beast waiting to strike. Klonoa could feel the pull of the storm deep within him. It was as if the storm itself was calling to him, beckoning him forward. "I don't know about this, Klonoa," Huepow said nervously, his round glowing form flickering slightly in the darkened atmosphere. "This storm, it feels like it's alive, like it wants something from you." Klonoa's heart pounded in his chest. He could feel it too. The storm wasn't just some random force of nature. It was tied to him in ways he couldn't yet understand, but he had no choice but to keep moving forward. "I have to see this through, Huepow," Klonoa said, his voice steady despite the turbulence around them. "I'm not sure what's going to happen, but I won't let the storm take the Dreaming Island. I won't let it destroy everything." Huepow hesitated for a moment, then floated closer to Klonoa. "I'm with you, buddy. I don't know what we're up against, but we'll face it together." Klonoa smiled, grateful for his companion's loyalty. He had faced so many challenges before, but this was different. This was something much greater than anything he had ever encountered. As they made their way across the island toward the heart of the storm, the ground beneath their feet seemed to tremble with every step. The wind whipped through the trees, sending branches crashing to the ground. The air smelled of electricity, like the very atmosphere itself was charged with energy. They climbed higher into the mountains, the storm growing stronger with each passing minute. The sky above was a swirling vortex of clouds, dark and foreboding, and Klonoa could sense that they were drawing closer to the source of the storm, the heart of the forgotten sky. "There it is," Klonoa muttered under his breath as they reached the peak of the mountain. In the distance, a massive rift in the sky had opened, and through it a shimmering light pulsed, not from the sun, but from something far more ancient. The rift seemed to be the epicenter of the storm, the swirling clouds churning violently around it. From within the rift, a figure appeared, a silhouette in the distance, its form barely visible through the haze of the storm. "That's it," Klonoa said, his voice filled with awe and fear. "That's where it's coming from." Huepow's light flickered anxiously. "Klonoa, I don't like this. Something about this place feels wrong." Klonoa nodded. The closer they got, the stronger the sense of unease became. There was an overwhelming presence in the air, an ancient, forgotten power that seemed to resonate with the very fabric of the Dreaming Island. It was as though the island itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. The two friends pressed forward, climbing the final stretch toward the rift. As they reached the edge of the storm, the sky seemed to open up in front of them, revealing a vast, otherworldly landscape. The rift wasn't just a tear in the sky, it was a portal to a place that Klonoa couldn't even begin to comprehend. At the center of the rift stood a towering structure, an ancient temple of unimaginable size, its dark silhouette formed by the swirling clouds. The architecture was unlike anything Klonoa had ever seen before, with jagged spires and winding staircases that seemed to stretch to infinity. It was a place of both beauty and menace, a place that had been forgotten for countless ages. As they approached the temple, the wind howled louder than ever, and Klonoa felt a sudden weight in the air. The presence that had been calling to him was now palpable, its power vibrating through every fibre of his being. "Klonoa," Huepow whispered, his voice trembling. "This is it. This is where the forgotten sky lives. Whatever's in there, it's waiting for you." Klonoa didn't answer. He could feel it now, the storm, the rift, the forgotten power that had been hidden for so long. It was all tied to him. He had to know the truth, even if it meant facing the most terrifying force he had ever encountered. Together they stepped into the temple, and the moment they crossed the threshold, the storm outside seemed to calm, as if the temple itself was a barrier between the chaotic world and the mysterious power within. Inside the temple, the air was thick with an unnatural stillness. The walls were covered in ancient runes that glowed faintly in the dim light. The ground beneath their feet was smooth and cold, and the sound of their footsteps echoed through the vast halls. At the center of the temple stood a massive crystal, not like the one in the Dreaming Islands temple, but far larger, pulsing with an eerie light. It seemed to be the source of the storm, the heart of the forgotten sky. Klonoa could feel its power, radiating out like a heartbeat, steady and unstoppable. As they approached the crystal, the air seemed to hum with energy, and a voice, like a whisper on the wind, filled the chamber. "Klonoa, you have come." Klonoa's heart skipped a beat. "Who are you?" he demanded, his voice strong despite the overwhelming presence in the room. The crystal pulsed once more, and the voice grew clearer. "I am the Forgotten Sky. I am the force that was sealed away, the force that now calls to you. I have waited for you, Dream Traveler, for you are the key to my freedom." Klonoa stepped forward, his fists clenched. "No, I won't let you destroy everything. I don't know what you are, but I won't let you control this world." The crystal flashed brighter, and the storm outside seemed to respond, the winds howling even louder. The voice echoed again, this time louder, more commanding. "You do not understand, Klonoa. I am not here to destroy, I am here to awaken. The world is broken, fractured, and I am the force that will bring balance. You are the one who will help me bring forth the new age. The Forgotten Sky is the power that will restore what was lost." Klonoa's mind raced. He could feel the pull of the crystal, the weight of its power, but something deep inside him knew that this wasn't right. He wasn't just a vessel for the Forgotten Sky. He was the one who could stop it. "No," Klonoa said firmly, stepping forward. "I don't believe you. The Forgotten Sky is nothing more than a trap, a lie that's been hidden for too long." Huepow hovered nervously beside him. "Klonoa, I think we found the source of the storm, but we don't know how to stop it." Klonoa's eyes narrowed, determination setting in. "There's always a way. I've faced darkness before, and I can face it again." Suddenly the crystal erupted in a burst of blinding light, and the voice boomed through the temple. "You cannot stop what is inevitable, Klonoa. The storm is already here. The Forgotten Sky is awakening, and you will be the one to bring it into the world." Klonoa braced himself, feeling the storm surge within the temple. But he wasn't afraid. He wasn't going to let this ancient force take over. Not today. The blinding light from the crystal filled the temple, searing Klonoa's vision. But he refused to look away. The air was thick with raw energy, and the voice of the Forgotten Sky boomed again, echoing through the walls of the ancient temple. "You are too weak, Klonoa. You cannot deny me. I am inevitable. I will reshape this world, and you will be the one to awaken me. The storm cannot be stopped." The ground trembled beneath Klonoa's feet, and the wind outside howled even louder, rattling the temple as if it were just a fragile shell against the forces at play. The crystal's pulsating glow intensified, filling the chamber with an unearthly radiance that seemed to stretch into infinity. Klonoa could feel the presence of the Forgotten Sky as if it were reaching out to him, trying to claim him, trying to use him as a vessel for its power. But Klonoa wasn't about to give in. Not now. "I won't let you control me," he shouted, his voice unwavering despite the power bearing down on him. He closed his eyes, gathering every ounce of willpower. "You may be ancient, but I'm not afraid of you. I'm not your tool. I'm going to stop you, no matter what." Huepow floated beside him, his light flickering in the chaos. "Klonoa, be careful. The storm. It's getting worse." The storm outside was no longer just a natural phenomenon. It was a living, breathing entity wrapping itself around the temple, battering it with fierce gusts and twisting lightning. The sky had darkened further, the clouds swirling like a vast whirlpool, as if trying to devour the very sun. Yet despite the growing chaos, Klonoa stood his ground. The crystal pulsed again, sending a shockwave through the air. The voice of the forgotten sky filled the space once more, growing deeper, more resonant. Why do you fight? You are nothing but a dream, a fleeting illusion born from the depths of the world's forgotten past. You have no true power. You cannot stop me. Klonoa clenched his fists, his resolve hardening. I may not have your power, but I have something you don't have. The will to protect what matters. I have the hearts of those I care about, and that's stronger than anything you can offer. The ground beneath Klonoa's feet cracked, but he stood tall, unwavering. He wasn't just fighting for himself, he was fighting for the island, for the world, for everyone who had ever stood beside him. The forgotten sky might have been ancient, but Klonoa was no stranger to the forces of darkness. He had fought them before, and he would do it again. Huepow spoke up, his voice small but filled with determination. Klonoa, I believe in you. We can do this, together. Klonoa's heart swelled at his friend's words. They had been through so much together, and he wasn't about to let everything they had fought for be torn apart, not by a force that thought it could control him. Suddenly the crystal's light dimmed, and for a brief moment the storm outside seemed to pause, as if holding its breath. The voice of the forgotten sky, no longer booming, spoke in a calmer tone. You think you can stop me? You think you can defy the will of the universe itself? You cannot hide from the truth, Klonoa. You are connected to the forgotten sky, whether you accept it or not. Klonoa felt a sudden rush of memories flood his mind, images of a past he couldn't remember, of a place far beyond the dreaming island. The crystal's light flickered, and for a moment he saw flashes of himself as a child, standing on the edge of a great void. He saw his own hands glowing with a strange energy, and he heard a voice calling to him, whispering the same words as the forgotten sky. You are the dream traveller. You are the key. The visions faded as quickly as they had come, leaving Klonoa reeling, his thoughts a tangled mess. What was all of this? Why had he been brought to this island? And why did the forgotten sky claim that he was connected to it? But even as doubt flickered in his mind, Klonoa's resolve remained firm. It didn't matter what the forgotten sky said. He couldn't let this ancient force control him. He had his own path, his own purpose. I won't let you take over this world, Klonoa said, his voice steady. You think I'm just a dream, but I'm real, and I'll fight with everything I have. The crystal before him pulsed with fury, its glow intensifying to blinding levels. The storm outside raged again, as if enraged by Klonoa's defiance. Suddenly the air cracked with an explosion of light, and a massive surge of energy shot from the crystal. Klonoa was thrown backward, crashing into the stone wall with a force that knocked the breath from his lungs. Huepow cried out in alarm, but Klonoa struggled to push himself to his feet, his body aching from the impact. The storm outside was now a violent maelstrom, the very skies seeming to tear apart. The crystal glowed brighter, and a new figure emerged from the heart of the light, a shadowy, spectral being, its form shifting and changing with every passing second. It was both human and something else entirely, a figure made of light and shadow, its eyes burning with a cold, indifferent fire. You have no idea what you're up against, the figure spoke in a voice that resonated in Klonoa's chest. The forgotten sky is not some simple force, it is the essence of creation itself. Without it, the world would cease to exist. You cannot stop what has been destined. Klonoa stood tall despite the pounding in his chest. I don't care about destiny, I care about the world I'm living in. This island, these people, they matter to me. I won't let you erase everything for your own plan. The figure's eyes narrowed. You do not understand. You cannot comprehend the stakes. I am the vessel of the forgotten sky, and you will help me bring it to life once more. The storm will continue until you accept your role. Klonoa's mind raced, but one thought kept him grounded. He couldn't let this force control him. He had to find a way to fight back. If he could just... The crystal flashed again, and this time Klonoa didn't wait for the force to strike first. He lunged forward, arms outstretched, using every ounce of his energy to break free from the pull of the storm. As his hands touched the surface of the crystal, a massive surge of energy coursed through him, and for a brief moment everything seemed to freeze. The figure of the forgotten sky flickered and vanished. The storm outside seemed to quiet, and the crystal pulsed with an otherworldly calm. Klonoa's mind flooded with images again, but this time the memories were different. This wasn't just in his past, it was the island's past, the ancient world that had come before the dreaming island, before the forgotten sky had been sealed away. It was a world in chaos, a world where the sky itself had fallen into darkness, and the forgotten sky had been both the source and the solution, a force that, when unchecked, consumed everything in its path. But it had also been the key to restoring balance. Klonoa gasped as he realized the truth. The forgotten sky wasn't evil, nor was it simply a force of destruction. It was a force of transformation, of rebirth. It had been sealed away, not because it was dangerous, but because its power was too great to be controlled. "You must make a choice, Klonoa," a voice spoke inside his mind, clearer now. "Will you awaken the forgotten sky and restore the balance of the world, or will you destroy the only hope for this world's survival?" Klonoa stood at the center of the storm, feeling the weight of the decision pressing down on him. The storm outside swirled, waiting as if it were holding its breath. He couldn't save the world without understanding it. He couldn't destroy the forgotten sky without condemning everything. With a deep breath, Klonoa made his choice. Klonoa's mind whirled with the weight of the decision laid before him. The storm outside, now eerily silent, seemed to pulse with anticipation, as if the very world was holding its breath. The forgotten sky had always been a mystery, something ancient, something powerful. But it was also something that Klonoa now understood wasn't inherently evil. It wasn't something he could simply destroy. The forgotten sky was more than just a force of chaos. It was part of the world's foundation, a necessary balance that had been sealed away long ago. He reached out toward the crystal again, feeling its immense power flowing through him. It was like touching the heart of the island itself, the very pulse of life wrapped in an energy both beautiful and dangerous. I can't make this choice alone," Klonoa whispered, his thoughts racing. His breath came fast, and he felt the weight of destiny pressing down on him, pushing him to decide, to make a choice that could either restore the world or doom it. Suddenly he felt Huepow's presence beside him. The little creature floated near his shoulder, glowing softly in the dark temple. "You don't have to do this alone, Klonoa," Huepow said, his voice filled with quiet understanding. "You've already chosen what's right. You've fought for what you believe in, but you don't have to carry this burden by yourself. I'm here, and I believe in you." Klonoa looked at his friend, feeling a swell of gratitude. His companion, though small, had always been his rock, guiding him with unwavering loyalty through countless challenges. Klonoa wasn't alone. He never had been. Together, they had always faced the unknown, and together they would face whatever lay ahead. Taking a deep breath, Klonoa closed his eyes. The memories, the visions, they were still there, swirling in his mind, but now he felt something new. He felt the presence of the island as if it were alive, as if it, too, was awaiting the decision. Klonoa's heart beat faster, resonating with the island's pulse. "I have to make this choice for everyone," Klonoa murmured, his voice steady now. "For the island, for my friends, for all of us." The crystal before him flickered again, sending out a ripple of energy. It hummed with the ancient power of the forgotten sky, but Klonoa no longer felt threatened. He had come to understand it. It wasn't something to be feared. It was part of the cycle. Without it, the world would lose its balance. The voice of the forgotten sky spoke once more, but now it was softer, less imposing. It was no longer a demand, but an invitation. "Klonoa, you are the dream traveler. You have the power to shape the world. I have waited for you because you hold the key to the restoration. You are the one who will decide if the forgotten sky will return to the world or remain sealed forever. The storm you see, it is not my wrath. It is the pulse of the universe calling out for balance." Klonoa's gaze hardened, but his heart was calm. He knew what had to be done. He stepped forward, placing his hands on the surface of the crystal. A wave of energy surged through him, but, instead of feeling overwhelmed, Klonoa felt a deep sense of connection. The forgotten sky wasn't just a force outside of him, it was a part of him, part of the island, part of the world. I choose to restore balance, Klonoa said, his voice unwavering, but I will not let the storm consume us. We must find harmony, not destruction. As soon as the words left his mouth, the crystal responded with a bright flash, and the storm outside seemed to pause, as if time had stopped. Klonoa felt a rush of power, but this time it was not overwhelming. It was like a gentle breeze, guiding him, surrounding him with warmth and light. The air shifted, and the swirling clouds above the temple began to settle, slowly but steadily. The roar of the storm softened to a gentle wind, and the oppressive pressure that had filled the space lifted. Klonoa felt the pulse of the forgotten sky resonate through his very being, as if the island itself had exhaled a deep sigh of relief. The figure of the forgotten sky, once a dark and spectral being, slowly materialized in front of Klonoa, but it was no longer the same intimidating presence. It had transformed into a being of light and shadow, ethereal and graceful, with eyes that gleamed with the wisdom of the ages. You have made your choice, dream traveller, the voice of the forgotten sky said, softer now, filled with understanding. The storm is over. The cycle of creation and destruction will no longer be an endless battle. You have chosen to restore the balance, and for that you have my gratitude. Klonoa stood tall, feeling the power of the forgotten sky flowing through him. He had made the right decision, but there was still much to be done. He wasn't sure what the future would hold, but one thing was certain. The island had been saved. I didn't do this alone, Klonoa said, looking over at Huepow, who beamed with pride. We did it together. The forgotten sky's form flickered, and the storm outside began to dissipate, revealing a sky that was no longer dark and swirling. The clouds parted, and rays of sunlight pierced through, casting a warm glow over the island below. You are not just the dream traveller, Klonoa, the forgotten sky's voice echoed in the stillness. You are the bridge between the past and the future. You have the power to guide the world into a new era. Klonoa felt a weight lift off his shoulders. The decision had been made, and the world had begun to heal. The forgotten sky was no longer a threat, but a force that would help restore balance to the island, and beyond. But even as the storm faded, and peace returned, Klonoa knew that his journey was far from over. There were still mysteries to uncover, still friends to protect, and still adventures to be had. I may be the dream traveller, Klonoa said with a smile, but I don't know what the future holds. All I know is that I'll keep moving forward, as long as there are dreams to chase and friends to help. As the light from the crystal faded, Klonoa and Huepow stood together, watching the horizon as the storm completely dissipated, leaving only the calm beauty of the dreaming island. Epilogue: The awakening of a new dawn. With the storm finally quelled, the dreaming island had returned to its natural state of harmony. The once chaotic sky now glowed with the soft hues of dawn, and the island's lush forests, mountains, and seas shimmered in the early morning light. The forgotten sky, no longer a source of destruction, was now a force of rebirth, its power harmonizing with the world rather than consuming it. Klonoa and Huepow stood at the temple's peak, gazing out over the land that had become their home. The winds had calmed, and the weight that had settled over the land for so long had been lifted. We did it, Klonoa, Huepow said, his voice filled with awe. We saved the island. The storm is gone, and everything feels peaceful now. Klonoa smiled, but his eyes remained focused on the horizon. Yeah, but there's always something more, Huepow. The world's full of mysteries. We've just scratched the surface. He glanced at his friend. Are you ready for the next adventure? Huepow beamed. You bet. There's no telling what we'll find out there. As the two companions turned and began their descent from the temple, the island was bathed in the light of a new dawn. A dawn of hope, of balance, and of endless possibilities. The end. You've been listening to Tales from the Consoleverse, written by AI Chat GPT and read by yours truly, the Off-Rail Gamer. This has been Klonoa and the Forgotten Sky and concludes our first week of episodes. I still haven't got a schedule fully determined for the remainder of the series. I did say in one of my Off the Rails podcasts that my plan is to do at least fortnightly, alternating Off the Rails one week, Tales from the Consoleverse the next. I would, however, like to do this more frequently if time permits, and we'll have to see if time allows fortnightly as well. So I will let you know when the next episode's ready to go up. It's not yet. And I will catch you next time. Bye!